Cartel de Sinaloa has weathered a lot of storms in the past, but the recent attacks have proven unbearable, forcing the removal of major players in its hierarchy. From the king himself, El Chapo, to his wife, Emma Coronel, to his most ruthless son, Ovidio Guzman, among the final players left is Ovidio's wife, Adriana Meza Torres, rumored to be the new queen of the Sinaloa cartel, born into Sinaloa. Adriana Meza Torres was born in the mid-90s in Culiacan, Rosales, the capital and largest city in the state of Sinaloa. She was born with a silver bullet, a silver spoon in her mouth. Essentially, she was narco royalty from birth. Her parents were Raul Meza Ontiveros and Aida Elizabeth Torres Felix. Her father, Raul, aka LM6, was reportedly a high-ranking leader of the Sinaloa cartel at the time. Her mother, Elizabeth, was the sister of Sinaloa sicarios Javier Torres Felix, aka LJT, and Manuel Torres Felix, aka LM1, both working alongside her father in Cartel de Sinaloa. Her father, LJT, and LM1 all served as the right-hand men of Ishmael El Mayo Zambada at different points in time. Keep that name, El Mayo, in mind, as it's one of the catalysts for Adriana's current emergence as the new queen of Sinaloa. With her family tree already looking extensive, there is still more. Her brother was reportedly lauded as the youngest hitman in the Sinaloa cartel, Cesar Raul Meza Torres, often referred to by his alias El Mini 6 in reference to his father, whose alias was LM6. Life in the cartel may seem glamorous from a distance, with the expensive cars and well-furnished million-dollar mansions, but everybody in that life, and I mean everybody, has three fates. First is to be killed by security forces. Second is to be murdered in cold blood by rival criminal groups. And third is to be arrested for their alleged involvement in organized crime. Many of Adriana Meza Torres' relatives have inevitably met these fates, with her father, Raul Meza Ontiveros, getting shot in the face at point-blank range by a rival gang who were waiting for him at his girlfriend's house. Her uncles, Javier and Manuel Torres Felix, were no different, with Javier, or LJT, arrested by the Mexican authorities in April 2013 for charges on organized crime, homicide, and illegal use of firearms, while Manuel, or LM1, being gunned down and killed in a clash with the Mexican army in 2012. None of these deaths hurt Adriana Meza Torres as much as the death of her only brother, El Mini 6, who was killed at the tender age of 18 following a routine traffic stop in Zapopan, Jalisco, on 25 April 2010. According to the officials, he and his accomplices were pulled over, but they flashed their firearms at the policemen, trying to scare them off. When the police officers ordered them to turn themselves in, El Mini 6 killed one of the officers, but was fatally wounded by another. He was taken to a private clinic and was pronounced dead that morning. That same morning, his body was handed over to his sister Adriana and was then transferred to Culiacan, where his family held a wake at a funeral home on Emilio Zapata Boulevard. Being born into a life of organized crime, Adriana Meza Torres was familiar with the recurring theme of relatives getting killed or getting sentenced to life imprisonment. But this theme became even more pronounced when she got in bed with the devil's son, the offspring of the CEO of crime himself, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. Married to the devil's son. Being the daughter of a popular and fearsome narco meant that no random man could just approach her and play with her feelings. Only a man with power, affluence, and charm could handle her. And this was none other than the most ruthless son of El Chapo, Ovidio Guzman Lopez. The exact date of their marriage is yet to be known, but they were romantically linked together for the first time in 2017, during the height of the prosecution and extradition of El Chapo. She currently has 3 daughters with Ovidio, but only 2 of them are known, namely Valeria Guzman Meza and Adriana Guzman Meza. Prior to 2017, Ovidio kept his wife and other private matters away from the public eye, but everything unraveled when she was probed by the Financial Intelligence Unit. Impact of El Chapo's capture. In 2016, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman was arrested in a bloody raid for the 3rd time after his 2nd successful escape a year prior. He was extradited to the United States on the 19th of January 2017, and the lengthy 11-week trial began on the 5th of November 2018 at the federal court in Brooklyn. Joaquin El Chapo Guzman was found guilty of all counts on the 12th of February 2019 and was sentenced on July 17th, 2019 to life in prison plus 30 years. He was also ordered to forfeit more than $12.6 billion. He was imprisoned in ADX Florence, the most secure US supermax prison, nicknamed the Alcatraz of the Rockies, under federal register number 89914-053. After the recapture and sentencing of El Chapo, the Mexican officers launched a high-profile investigation into the inner workings of the Sinaloa cartel. It was essentially open season on everybody with close ties to the Guzman family, and this included Adriana Meza Torres. Among the other people investigated are Los Chapitos, the children of El Chapo, namely Jesus Alfredo, Ivan Archivaldo Guzman Salazar, Ovidio Guzman Lopez, and Jesus Guzman Lopez. The first lady of the Sinaloa cartel, Emma Coronel, also became a notable person of interest, as well as one other figure, Ishmael El Mayo Zambada. These names were the major players on the board, and they were officially persons of interest. Person of interest. During the trial of El Chapo, it was discovered that Adriana's proximity to the world of drug trafficking was not only linked to the Guzman family, but the Financial Intelligence Unit officially announced that she is the daughter of Raul Meza Ontiveros, alias LM6, a lieutenant operator of Ismael El Mayo Zambada. This information was revealed because it was pointed out that the federal government had intentions to freeze the bank accounts of Adriana Meza Torres, presuming that she maintained or maintains a sentimental relationship with Ovidio Guzman Lopez, son of Joaquin Guzman Loera, alias El Chapo. She was effectively being investigated as a person of interest, with her account being used to divert attention and money away from some criminals. In the midst of these investigations, it was revealed that Adriana Meza Torres was apparently engaged in agriculture, a situation that raised more eyebrows, as people wondered how a career in agriculture could maintain the lavish and expensive lifestyle she had been living. The Financial Intelligence Unit of the Ministry of Finance and Public Credit further pointed out that Adriana Meza Torres was an alleged lender for the Los Chapitos organization, especially for the schemes of Jesus Alfredo and Ivan Archivaldo Guzman Salazar, as well as her husband, Ovidio Guzman Lopez, and Jesus Guzman Lopez. In spite of the data obtained, the defense of Adriana Meza Torres ordered a ruling to annul the action of the Financial Intelligence Unit. However, this did not go too well, as there is allegedly a lack of tax returns, as well as some cash payments during some of her trips abroad. Among other defense arguments in favor of Adriana Meza Torres is that there is no evidence that links her to the criminal group. Therefore, the prosecution directly violates her right to free development that she possesses with her income derived from agricultural activities. However, the Financial Intelligence Unit refused to stop the investigations until a federal judge granted Adriana Meza Torres an amparo. In the Mexican legal system, there is a remedy called recurso de amparo, or appeal for protection, which protects the constitutional rights of certain individuals, and this was what Adriana Meza Torres needed to get the Financial Intelligence Unit off her back, until 2019. On the 17th of October 2019, also known as Black Thursday, Adriana would become a person of interest again, as the city of Culiacan woke up in flames due to burning vehicles, drug blockades, shootings, and the theft of cars due to the capture of her husband, Ovidio Guzman. Before we get to that, let's analyze how other major players were impacted by the fall of El Chapo. Major pieces begin to fall off. Shortly after El Chapo was sentenced, further investigation into the inner workings of the Sinaloa cartel essentially shook up the chessboard, with many important pieces being affected. With Adriana Meza Torres' situation already discussed, let's examine the other players. Emma Coronel, the reigning queen of Sinaloa at the time, was arrested at Dulles International Airport in Virginia for allegedly conspiring to knowingly and intentionally distribute shipments of heroin, cocaine, marijuana, and methamphetamine. The 31-year-old also played a notable role in helping El Chapo escape from a maximum security prison in 2015. By purchasing a property near the site. El Chapo was able to escape through tunnels dug underneath, complete with air ducts, lights that came up to a cartel-owned property. She also provided him with a GPS-enabled watch and relayed messages to operatives while he was inside. Talk about a devoted wife. After expressing her remorse, the judge showed leniency on her in the courtroom, sentencing her to 3 years, a shorter sentence than most had expected, and ordered her to forfeit nearly $1.5 million and be subject to 4 years of supervised release when she leaves prison. The current queen has been taken off the board. Let's examine the next persons of interest, Los Chapitos. Everybody expected the sons of El Chapo, aka Los Chapitos, to get the keys to the cocaine kingdom, but there was trouble in paradise. Power vacuums and territorial tussles arose, as well as hyenas looking to attack the seemingly vulnerable Sinaloa cartel. These hyenas wore badges and uniforms, coming in the form of the federal authorities. The United States Department of Justice had its sights set on the sons of El Chapo, collectively known as Los Chapitos: Joaquin Guzman Lopez, Ovidio Guzman Lopez, Ivan Archivaldo Guzman Salazar, and Jesus Alfredo Guzman Salazar. Joaquin and Ovidio are the most popular of the sons, both to the authorities and the general populace. The United States began to target some of El Chapo's kids, both Ovidio Guzman Lopez and his elder brother Joaquin Lopez, on charges of participating in a conspiracy to traffic meth, marijuana, and cocaine since 2008. And in 2018, they started working on an extradition process against both of them. The United States Department of Justice issued a release on February 2019, announcing an indictment against Ovidio and Joaquin, charging them with the following. Joaquin Guzman Lopez, 34, and Ovidio Lopez, 28, are charged in a one-count indictment, alleging that from April 2008 to April 2018, they conspired to distribute cocaine, methamphetamine, and marijuana from Mexico and elsewhere for importation into the United States. The US State Department eventually put a $5 million bounty on the heads of Los Chapitos. The sons of the imprisoned Sinaloa cartel drug lord are atop the government's list, and a target of a new federal initiative offering millions of dollars in bounty for help in the capture and conviction of these international drug traffickers. The next big player on the board is one of the most admired men in narco history. You might have heard his name several times in this video. He was El Chapo's right-hand man, the intra-cartel rivals to Los Chapitos, the godfather to Adriana Meza Torres, the legendary Ismael Zambada Garcia, aka El Mayo. Is blood thicker than water? They say blood is thicker than water, and that might also be true for Adriana Meza Torres, because her father, Raul Meza Ontiveros, or LM6, her mother, Aida Elizabeth Torres, and her brother, Raul Torres, aka El Mini M6, all belong to the criminal alliance of Ismael Almayo Zambada. Adriana's father once served as the right-hand man for Almayo, so in essence, Adriana was like a goddaughter to Almayo. This has made people question where Adriana's loyalties lie. Is it with her husband's family, the Guzmans, or her godfather, Almayo? And who exactly is Almayo? Almayo is one of the most revered men in Narcos history. His status is almost mythical at this point. Before he assumed leadership of the entire Sinaloa cartel, he allegedly served as the logistical coordinator for its Zambada Garcia faction, which has overseen the trafficking of cocaine and heroin into Chicago and other US cities. In 2007, Almayo was featured on America's Most Wanted, and both the FBI and DEA have been offering a hefty sum of money for information leading to his capture, some up to $5 million. In 2011, it was rumored that Almayo might have had plastic surgery to disguise himself as a woman to move throughout Mexico. To date, he has never been arrested and imprisoned, and, as of 2022, is the single remaining fugitive on the list of Mexico's 37 most wanted drug lords. Almayo Zambada has decisively influenced the Sinaloa cartel since the 1990s. In addition, in the past few years, he had the final word on the plan of action to follow. Although his offspring and significant associates of his went behind bars and others were killed in fights, he remains a fugitive, yet to be caught. He is considered to be adept at handling the destabilizations and arrests of his close circle. Within the Sinaloa cartel, he is seen with authority by the Consolidated Empire. He is even among the staunchest enemies, since he bets on diplomacy and resorts to combat when there is no other way out. However, the boss is in the last phase of his criminal career. He's around 74 years old and is also sick with diabetes. It is likely that he will never be captured and is not guaranteed to live much longer either, but he still has time to consolidate his legacy of him in the generational change. But how is it possible that a daughter of the lieutenants of the Zambada clan ended up getting married to a leader of Los Chapitos? Now, it was known that there was a dispute within the Sinaloa cartel at the time. The little bit of friction was between Adriana's husband, Ovidio Guzman, aka El Raton, and the Zambada clan, Adriana's biological clan. This friction kept increasing until the 17th of October 2019, also known as Black Thursday to the natives of Culiacan. El Culiacanazo and Adriana's assassination attempt. The Battle of Culiacan, or better known as El Culiacanazo, is a 2019 operation that lives in infamy and is one the Mexican government would quickly erase from history. This was a failed operation by the Mexican National Guard to capture Ovidio Guzman Lopez. Prior to this operation, the authorities had located Ovidio's brother, Joaquin Guzman Lopez. There was a heated exchange of gunfire between the authorities and Joaquin's men, but Joaquin managed to escape and phoned Ovidio in Culiacan about incoming Mexican forces. In response, Ovidio called in hundreds of Sinaloa cartel sicarios to patrol the streets of Culiacan to shoot and kill any members of the Mexican armed forces on sight. This was an impending sign of mass bloodshed for both the authorities and civilians alike. Many people had theorized that Adriana acted in favor of her biological Zambada clan to leak out private information about the location of Ovidio, but a lot of these claims are majorly unsubstantiated. A large convoy of vehicles drove up to Ovidio Guzman Lopez's house in Culiacan based on an extradition warrant from a US judge. The National Guard succeeded in infiltrating his property and capturing Ovidio, but quickly found themselves surrounded by cartel enforcers. The cartel intensified the situation by threatening to massacre innocent people and kidnapping people on the street. The cartel enforcers were well equipped with armored vehicles, bulletproof vests, rocket launchers, grenade launchers, and heavy machine guns. During this arrest, the cartel took several hostages, including 8 servicemen, as well as the housing unit where the military's families lived in Culiacan. Many government buildings, like prisons, were taken hostage, releasing important cartel members, setting vehicles on fire, and shutting down airports and important intersections. The President of Mexico, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, had to step in and order the release of Ovidio Guzman, stating that the capture of one drug smuggler could not be more valuable than the lives of innocent civilians. The president mentioned that Guzman Lopez's release was necessary because the situation became very difficult and many citizens were at risk. This failed operation resulted in more than 10 people dying and 20 injured. Following the capture of her husband, the name and probing of the life of Adriana Meza Torres became relevant again. President Andrés Manuel López Obrador and the Mexican authorities gave the order to freeze all of Adriana Meza Torres' accounts, as there were suspicions that she was an alleged leader to Ovidio and the Los Chapitos organization. Her account was eventually unfrozen in October of 2022. An investigation was carried out to analyze whether Adriana Meza Torres' account would remain blocked, and evidence was found displaying checks and delivery certificates for corn crops between 2012 and 2015, prompting a federal judge to order her bank account to be unfrozen. That same month, in 2022, Adriana Meza Torres would become a target for her own biological clan, the Zambadas. Trapitos, she became a target after the imprisonment of El Chapo and the division of the Sinaloa cartel. The Zambada clan waged war against Los Chapitos, and this led them to target family members closest to the sons of El Chapo. An attempt was made to assassinate Ovidio Guzman Lopez, together with his wife Adriana, at the hands of a couple of hitmen in a restaurant called Cheesecake Factory in Mexico City. Just 5 days into the new year, the Mexican National Guard decided to right their wrong and execute a near flawless plan to apprehend the most ruthless son of El Chapo, Ovidio Guzman Lopez. With credit to ground surveillance by the Mexican National Guard, a group of armed men aboard several vehicles with handmade customized armor was identified. These vehicles were pickup trucks. After sighting these trucks, the authorities immediately coordinated to mount an operation, as Adriana Meza Torres was likely to be in one of these vehicles. Minutes later, a perimeter fence was set up around these customized armored trucks in order to check and stop them. National Guardsmen, in coordination with the 9th Military Zone and other state authorities, surrounded the suspicious vehicles and detained them. They approached the suspects and requested that they get out of the cars to be searched. As the troops checked the vehicles, they were met with an armed response and came under fire. According to the reports, the officers acted out in self-defense and tried to control the direct aggression towards them. Amidst the firefight, Ovidio Guzman Lopez was identified as one of the occupants of the vehicles and was immediately captured. In a bid to avoid unnecessary bloodshed, like the first Battle of Culiacan, street blockades had been erected, and the local government advised civilians to stay indoors and said schools and administrative offices were closed due to the violence. Culiacan Mayor Juan de Dios Gamez also took to Twitter to say this: "We ask the citizens of Culiacan not to leave home due to the blockades that have occurred in different parts of the city. We will be informing you when there are conditions to do so." Later that day, Ovidio was transferred from the Specialized Prosecutor for Organized Crime to a prison, possibly the Federal Center for Social Readaptation No. 1, aka Altiplano, a maximum security federal prison in Almoloya de Juarez, state of Mexico. And just like that, another major piece gets taken off the board. Adriana Meza Torres, who was formerly just a pawn in the game, has just been promoted to queen. The new queen of Sinaloa. With El Chapo serving life imprisonment, his wife Emma Coronel serving her own sentence, a $5 million bounty on the heads of Los Chapitos, her husband Ovidio awaiting extradition at a maximum security prison, El Mayo taking a back seat in the cartel affairs, Adriana Meza Torres has been unofficially coronated as the queen of the Sinaloa cartel. As the new queen, she has become an even bigger target for the authorities, as well as rival groups. A lot of questions are being asked about her next course of action. Will she be preparing a solid defense to detach from the illicit movements of her partner, as she did in the past? Despite public scrutiny, will she remain unwavering and loyal to her man during his trial sessions? Will she continuously declare her husband's innocence and feign ignorance of all the atrocities and unlawful acts that he must have committed in the last few years of their marriage? These are standard duties of narco wives, but there is a bigger duty that she might consider, one that was done by her predecessor, Emma Coronel, for her husband Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. I'm talking about the duty of planning an escape for Ovidio Guzman from the Altiplano maximum security prison. There are certain acts that are frowned upon as a narco wife, but the most detestable is snitching on one's own spouse. In the criminal underworld, it is suspected that a wife knows all the most intimate secrets of her husband. So, for Adriana Meza Torres, it would be very easy to know all about Ovidio's business, his hidden money, his drug routes, as well as his hideouts. A very clear example is Emma Coronel, who had her sentence reduced for collaborating with American authorities. This is what former DEA Chief of International Operations Mike Vigil said about Emma Coronel, and it might as well apply to Adriana Meza Torres. She knows where all the bodies are buried, so to speak, and she can do a lot of damage to the Sinaloa cartel. She can give a lot of information: the drug routes, the sources for supply of cocaine, corrupt public officials, members of the Sinaloa cartel, things of that nature. Unlike other narco wives, she also likes to keep a low profile. Her predecessor, Emma Coronel, loved the media attention of being a narco wife. She garnered a lot of fame and exposure, and even made an appearance on the VH1 reality series Cartel Crew, and was nicknamed the Kardashian of Sinaloa. She also launched a clothing line in her husband's name. But Adriana Meza Torres is quite the opposite. She is a woman who does not let herself be seen much in the social media space, even though there are a few known videos where she is seen at concerts in Mexico City and in her husband's company at luxurious restaurants. The Sinaloa cartel and other criminal syndicates have a very complex hierarchy, but at any time there can be only one person on the throne. In a profession largely dominated by ruthless men, what can Adriana Meza Torres, the new queen of Sinaloa, offer, and will her reign be a long one? If this video sent chills down your spine, check out our other awesome videos on the channel detailing organized crime, mafia, and prisons. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.